4 concentrate feeds every homesteader gets wrong. Fix this today. Some homesteads raise their animals on the exact same land, the exact same hay, even the exact same breed, and still end up with slower growth, lower milk, and higher feed bills than the homestead down the road. If that sounds familiar, the problem usually isn't your animals. It's what you're mixing into their bucket every day. Welcome back to the Profitable Homestead, where we turn everyday farming decisions into real, measurable results. Today we're breaking down concentrate feeds, what they actually do, and why lumping them all together is the mistake that quietly holds back growth on so many small farms. Let's start with the confusion itself, because it trips up beginners and experienced homesteaders alike. Corn, soybean meal, wheat bran, and oilseed cake all get called concentrates. But they are not interchangeable. Each one plays a completely different role in your animal's diet, and feeding the wrong one for the wrong job is like putting diesel in a gasoline engine. It might run for a while, but it's never running the way it should. So what actually makes something a concentrate feed? It comes down to nutrient density. Concentrates pack a lot of energy or protein into a small amount of feed, with very little fiber. That's the opposite of roughage, things like pasture grass, hay, and straw, which are bulky and fibrous but lower in nutrients pound for pound. Your animals need roughage to keep their digestive systems working properly, especially ruminants like goats, sheep, and cattle. But roughage alone often can't deliver enough concentrated nutrition to support fast growth or strong milk production. That's where concentrates step in, and once you understand the 4 main types, feeding your animals well becomes a whole lot simpler. The first type, and the one most homesteaders reach for without thinking twice, is the energy concentrate. Picture these as the fuel tank of the whole operation. Energy concentrates are grains and cereals like corn, barley, oats, and sorghum, and they exist to give your animals the calories they need to move, grow, and produce. Corn in particular is used on farms all over the world because it's loaded with digestible energy. Feed enough of it, and you'll see animals hold better body condition, gain weight faster, and produce more milk. But here's the catch that trips people up. Energy alone builds fat, not muscle. You can feed all the corn in the world and your animals will still struggle to put on lean tissue or produce protein-rich milk without something else in the mix. That something else is protein concentrates, and think of these as the actual building blocks of growth. While energy feeds fuel the body, protein feeds supply the amino acids animals use to build muscle, repair tissue, produce enzymes and hormones, and most importantly, make milk protein. This matters enormously for young growing animals, lactating goats and cows, and any livestock you're raising for meat or dairy production. Soybean meal is the most common protein concentrate used worldwide, prized because it's easy for animals to digest and consistently high in quality protein. Sunflower meal and canola meal work similarly and are worth knowing if soybean meal isn't available or affordable in your area. The honest downside here is cost. Protein concentrates are almost always the priciest part of any ration, which is exactly why smart homesteaders look for ways to stretch their feed budget without cutting corners on nutrition. That search for affordability leads straight into the third category, byproduct concentrates. These come from the leftovers of food processing, things like wheat bran, rice bran, corn gluten feed, and brewer's grains. Don't let the word leftover fool you into thinking these are lower quality. They still carry real nutritional value, offering a moderate combination of energy, protein, and digestible fiber, and because they're secondary products of another process, they typically cost less than straight grains or protein meals. This makes byproduct concentrates incredibly useful for stretching a ration further without sacrificing the nutrition your animals need. If you're trying to keep feed costs under control this year, this is the category worth exploring first. The fourth and final category has been used on farms for centuries, and it remains one of the most reliable traditional protein sources available today. Oilseed cakes come from a simple process. Seeds like mustard, cottonseed, groundnut, or sesame are pressed to extract oil for cooking or industrial use, and what's left behind after pressing is the cake, still rich in protein and nutrients. Mustard cake, cottonseed cake, groundnut cake, and sesame cake are widely fed to dairy cattle, goats, sheep, and other livestock, and many of them carry a bit of residual fat that adds extra energy on top of the protein. For homesteaders looking for a dense, traditional protein source that doesn't rely on commercial soybean supply chains, oilseed cakes deserve a serious look. Now here's where it all comes together, because knowing these 4 categories only helps you if you actually combine them correctly. Building a livestock ration is a lot like building a balanced plate for your own dinner table. You need fuel, you need building material, and you need it all to come together affordably. A simple, effective dairy ration might combine corn for energy, soybean meal for protein, wheat bran to balance things out and keep costs reasonable, and a portion of mustard cake for additional protein density. Combine these thoughtfully, based on what your specific animals actually need, and you'll see faster growth, stronger milk production, better body condition, and noticeably healthier animals overall. So back to that original question. Why do two homesteads, raising the same animals on the same land, end up with such different results? It was never really about the breed or the pasture. It comes down to understanding exactly which concentrate is doing which job, and blending them with intention instead of guessing. That's the difference between feeding your animals and actually nourishing them. If this helped clear up something you've been wondering about, do us a favor and hit that subscribe button so you don't miss the next practical breakdown we've got coming for your homestead. And before you go, share this video with a fellow homesteader who's still guessing at their feed mix, because a little clarity here can genuinely change what your farm produces this season.